In those days in New York City was a dangerous place. Crime was out of control. In the space of 3 weeks, and a knife fight erupted on the subway as I was going to Times Square. Walking home past Central Park, on Central Park South, a druggie has just been shot in the chest. Our office was in Times Square, up on the 4th floor of the Paramount building. And New York was a dangerous place. I've heard a commotion, looked out the window, and a young woman has just been mugged. She's had a throat cut. So I've called 911. Cop cars have come from everywhere. The crowd actually held the perpetrator till the cops got there. So they've bundled the victim into the back of a police car to go to Bellevue Hospital. One guy comes out with a hose from the back of his shop and he washes the blood off the sidewalk. And this is so New York. So New York on a Sunday afternoon. This is the guy George Willig who climbed on the outside of the World Trade Center. He climbed the outside of one of the two towers to a welcoming committee of NYPD when he got to the top.
He did make it to the top.
He did, yeah. The Confessions of a Foreign Correspondent is you spend a lot of your time reading the local newspapers and to try and find stories that might be of interest to Australia. So you spend a lot of time at your desk. That was the famous CIA spy trial. Here in the background, churning away the teleprinter with all the feed of stories. Something then breaks the doldrums of a very quiet day in the office, right? And that is the bells start erupting on the telephone machine. The indication of major breaking news was in capital letters, snap, snap, snap. And I thought, wow, okay, this is going to be big. Up it comes Memphis, Tennessee. Dateline Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley is dead, aged 42. And so immediately you've got a world-beating page one story. I'm thinking I've got to get to Memphis to start with. Can I tell you honestly what I thought? Like, I'm 27. Elvis has died aged 42. And I'm thinking, oh, well, that's pretty old. It's 4 o'clock in New York in the afternoon, about 6 a.m. in Sydney, getting ready for the first edition. No doubt in Sydney they're sort of looking around to see what they're going to put on the front page. I've rung through to the editor, to Ron Ford. I've said, Ron, just got news, Elvis Presley's dead. His reaction was, as typical journalism, was good story. Not a good story that Elvis was dead, but a good story was now they had page one settled for that day and probably several days to come. So the scene outside Graceland was electric. You had people out there in their thousands, people in tears, sobbing over the loss of Elvis. It didn't come as a big surprise because he'd actually collapsed on stage in Las Vegas at concerts and everyone knew he wasn't well. But his death was still a shock. It's like one of those things where you know exactly where you were when it happened. So I was there with Anne came down with me, and we're standing in the front yard or the just near the gates to the Graceland mansion.
That's you on the left, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
in the red dress.
That's Anne in the pink dress, and I think that's me on the other side.
It's one thing to get all these opportunities to travel the world as a journo, but you got to take your family with you, don't you? And that takes a special kind of someone. Anne's been there with you every step of the way?
Yeah, well, mate, I always say I was born under a lucky star, and the best evidence of being born under a lucky star was meeting Anne. And we met as teenagers and now been married 50 years, but fantastic. Anne's fantastic.
50 years?
Well, more than 50 years. She's fantastic, loyal, strong, fantastic mother, fantastic life partner. And I'll tell you what,
but she understands what you do as a journo and why you wanted to go to New York, London, and back from London at short notice.
Yeah, well, Anne shares the adventure. She enjoyed our time in New York and meeting all the people there, and enjoyed time in London. The common thread through it all, through my entire career and life, is Anne has been the foundation for it. We regard Anne as the nucleus of our family, and that's really the way it is. But you couldn't ask for more. Like during my 10 years at Channel 7, for a news addict, you can actually be working 24 hours a day. You've got news bulletins in the morning. You've got them at mid or 11 a.m. in those days. you've got the nightly news, then you've got the late news as well. So I could be working all day. I could be overseas for weeks on end on assignments, interstate or somewhere in country New South Wales. She was the strong part of the family over those 10 years. Being a good mate, like we've been best friends, for more than 50 years, from being teenagers to now, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
We also now know that the fire began in a machine room beneath an old escalator at King's Cross Station. The disaster has stretched London's emergency services to the limit. Smoke pouring from the entrances to the underground station at King's Cross was the first indication of the horror taking place just 15 metres below. The problem is the firefighters, now the smoke is being cleared, have found asbestos hanging from the ceiling down there. They're trying to make that safe before they go back down again to search for more bodies. The victims died quickly. Some were seen running from the fire, their clothes and hair alight. Some were luckier. They were dragged to safety and placed on stretchers as the first ambulance crews arrived. And as soon as the worst of it was over, firemen in breathing equipment went below to recover the dead.
Turned the BBC News on and they had a short story saying there's been a smoky fire at King's Cross, fire tenders there, nothing about death toll. A minute later the phone rang and it was our foreign desk at Channel 7 in Sydney saying, you better get down to King's Cross straight away, there's a major disaster, it looks like 35 people dead. So we've gone back to the office, got all the gear, got into London to King's Cross, and it was chaotic. There was still smoke fumes pouring out of the station. In news, every day is different. You don't know what's going to happen on any given day. If you walked into Parliament House, you didn't know whether you'd walk away at the end of the day with a page one story or the lead story for the nightly news bulletin.
Commonwealth Film Unit cameraman Mike Franklin captured these moments of the doomed helicopter. Here is tragedy on film.
It might have been a Saturday afternoon, a helicopter with an ABC TV news crew on board. The back rotor came off and this chopper is twisted around its blades into the Goldfields house. And of course we now know that the cameraman kept his finger on the roll button and the whole thing was recorded. But again, major event, and I was a copy boy keeping the log for it. And
do you remember when you first heard about that?
Well, I can't remember it, but I would have been shocked. But then again, when you're young, you're a bit impervious to terrible things that happen because you never imagine it's going to happen to you. So I used to go to, you'd go to fatal accidents all the time as a cadet reporter, as the Midnight to Dawn police reporter. You'd go to terrible fatal accidents, but the human dimension of it would only hit you years and years later when you had your own family, and you think to yourself, imagine what that family went through when that happened. The thing about journalism I've discovered over the years of being in newspapers, print, television and radio, is that you learn the craft by osmosis. When I first joined The Sun as a kid, I never imagined myself writing a front page story, but in the end I did. I never imagined myself being a foreign correspondent. In the end I was. I never imagined working as a TV reporter, but ended up doing that. I never imagined being a political reporter, but that all happened as well.
You're posting a lot of stories on LinkedIn for Business Sydney, your love of trains as well. I mean, it's a great way to connect with people across Australia and across the world, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I think the thing I love about social media, including LinkedIn, is it gives me that feeling of immediacy that I enjoyed. The days when I would write a story here at Parliament House and the Zebra trucks would be dropping them in the street for the newspaper vendors, it reminds me of those days where you get that instant, whether you've got an audience of 100 or 100,000 or 1 million, you're still taking the opportunity to tell people stuff that you've seen, interesting things that you know about, and you put it up there. You're like your own publisher, and it gives you that feeling of immediacy that comes from chasing news. And so even to this day, like I'm now 76 and semi-retired, but I'm still chasing stories. I love chasing stories for Business Sydney. I love putting their posts up on LinkedIn.
It's so easy to just focus on your work today, your role today, your KPIs, what you do, but we've all got a story that stretches back and a story today that's about more than just our results, isn't it? The work that we're doing, the impact that we have.
Yeah, well, look, the great thing about being a journo, working in the corporate world, is that you know, even in the business you're working in, there are people with great stories to tell. And
often they don't think they've got a story that's worth sharing. Right?
That's right. Well, look, give an example. When I was at Carnival Australia, I discovered that one of our young assistants was the great-great-great-granddaughter of Captain Arthur Rostrom. He was the hero captain who went, the Carpathia, who went to the rescue of the Titanic. The only ship that went to rescue to the Titanic. He rescued, and his crew rescued 700 passengers off the Titanic. And here we had his great-great-great-granddaughter working in our office in Sydney. So the next Cunard ship that came in, we got Emily down there with a picture of her great-great-great-grandfather. And what a story. I still remind her of the fact that you know, she's related to the hero of the Titanic. Look, I'm a proud tabloid reporter, right? So all these are tabloid stories. But I make no apology for that, because I reckon tabloid journalism is fantastic.